Hello everybody. Hi, I'm Tamarin. I'd like to talk briefly today about helping women help themselves understand the blocks to their self-confidence and to empowering themselves. This idea is basically the controlling purpose of my channel. A big part of it is also about helping everybody recognize that there is a certain something that we're almost blind to, but once we see it everywhere and we realize that it permeates our lives. I would call this certain something a current life reality. It's a current life reality because it doesn't have to be there. It can change. And this current life reality is, because we're almost blind to that certain life reality, it's very subtle. But subtle or not, it's extraordinarily important, and recognizing it is pivotal in helping women with their self-confidence. So a while back, I was on a promotional Zoom call with two institutional portfolio managers. They were two women who had written a book about the pathway it takes to become an institutional portfolio manager. Institutional portfolio managers manage institutional monies, like money for an insurance company or for a teacher's retirement fund or a mutual fund, something like that, as opposed to me. I'm what's called a retail financial advisor. So I manage the funds of individuals and their families and their private companies. But anyway, at the end of this call, they called for anybody to make a comment or to ask a question. So I made the comment that at the end of the day, it really comes down to self-confidence. And one of the portfolio managers responded to me in a somewhat snide, skeptical way, saying something to the effect of, well, if you can solve that issue, go ahead. And I think what she meant was that we all know that women have come a long ways. Our lives have progressed, our lives have gotten better. Very few people want to go backwards, but we still seem to have hit a ceiling. And that ceiling seems to be a ceiling of self-confidence or a lack of self-confidence. So people have tried everything for decades. And with all the cheerleading for women's equality that have gone on for years and years, we still don't seem to be able to get past that ceiling set by a lack of true self-confidence. So I thought about this for a long time, and I thought, how could I show that certain something that we're almost blind to that blocks us in our self-confidence? And then I saw this guy on YouTube. He's a health guru, and he had an effective, what I think is effective, simple analogy. And so I'll use his. What he said was, think of your health as a beautiful flower in a flower pot. What does it need? It needs air, and it needs sunshine, and it needs water, and it needs good soil. However, if somebody pours motor oil in that flower pot, no matter how much air and water and sunshine you give that flower, it will never thrive and grow, and it could even die. And what he meant by that was, to solve your health problems, you can eat all the green leafy vegetables you want. But if you continue to eat sugar and junk food and processed food, you're never going to solve your health problems. You have to get the motor oil out of your flower pot first. You have to stop eating the junk food and the sugar and the processed food. And I thought the same analogy could be applied to women and their self-confidence. We need to get the motor oil out of our flower pot first. What are these? What is that junk food and the sugar and the processed food? These are, you could think of them as metabolic assaults. You keep assaulting your metabolic health or your metabolic equilibrium. And that's why Until you get them out, the green leafy vegetables aren't going to help you. Well, the same analogy can be applied to women. So the same analogy can be applied to women and their self-confidence. If you're constantly hit with self-confidence assaults, like the motor oil in the flower pot, women will never solve their self-confidence issues. So what do we do about the motor oil in our collective flower pot? First, we need to recognize what the motor oil is. That subtle, current life reality that we're almost blind to, that permeates our lives. So what is that? That's a big question. So for that, please check back and see you soon.